Hey Rose, it's Friday, July 25th. So if you've been following us this week, you know that it's Moon Week! So far on Monday, I debunked some common myths about the moon. Then on Wednesday, Rose explained how our moon came to be, and today I'm going to talk about why our moon is super important and how none of us would be here without it. Like Rose said, there have been many different theories and ideas about the formation of the moon throughout history, but the current and universally accepted one is the giant impact hypothesis, in which 4.5 billion years ago, a Mars-sized planet named Theia collided with an early proto-Earth. This collision obliterated huge parts of both planets, and the debris condensed into an early version of the Earth and the Moon. Now, I should state, this Earth and Moon were nothing like we know them today. For starters, for about 500 million years after the impact, the Earth had a molten surface of lava and a toxic steam atmosphere. The impact had set the Earth's initial spin about twice as fast as it is today, resulting in about 12-hour days, and the Moon was about twice as close as it is today. You probably know it is the moon that gives us our tides. The gravity of the moon actually pulls the water of our oceans, causing them to bulge out on the side facing the moon, and a slightly smaller bulge on the side facing away from the moon. This is why we have 2 tides per day. Well, 3.8 billion years ago, tides were very different. Since the moon was twice as close as it is today, the moon's gravity had a much stronger effect on the oceans. Tides would flow inland several miles, and the sea level would change by tens of meters. This played a huge role in the formation of life. You see, both DNA and RNA, the bases of life, were first formed from protonucleic acid molecules in the ocean. This was essentially a game of chance for the right molecules to bump into each other and eventually form the building blocks of life. But they had a lot of help, thanks to... you guessed it, the moon! These heavy tides I mentioned earlier created miles and miles of tidal pools along coastlines, and since the Earth spun twice as fast, we had a high tide every 6 hours instead of every 12 hours. These huge and frequent tides would have acted like a giant mixing beaker, like in a chemistry lab, constantly churning and shaking up all these pre-life molecules and giving them a much higher chance to form the right sequence. There is, of course, the chance that life would have started on Earth even without the moon, but it undeniably would have taken much, much longer, if at all. So now we know why we can thank the moon for the beginnings of life, but what about us? What about now? The moon moves away from the Earth at about 1.5 inches per year, bringing it over 4.5 billion years to where it is now. Also, the moon constantly tugging on our oceans has had the effect of slowly decelerating our spin, giving us the current 24-hour days that we have. But the biggest thing that the moon does, something that has drastically helped the evolutionary process of life, is to stabilize the Earth. If we didn't have the moon, the Earth would be spinning uncontrollably around the sun, its axis changing every year. This would mean in a particular location you might have a 100-degree summer one year, and the next year it snows all year long. But the moon acts as a large balance, keeping the axis of our Earth at a nice comfortable 23.5-degree tilt, and ensuring that we have generally similar seasons from year to year. This has allowed life to become adapted to its particular environment, one of the key forces of evolution. On the flip side, tides help disperse heat from the equator to the poles. This allows for slow climate change to happen. Over hundreds of thousands of years, temperatures and climates can shift. This is another key to evolution. Let's use the most recent ice age as an example. Animals that lived in modern-day Canada before the ice age would have had a great life in the woods, but over thousands of years it got colder and colder until the peak of the ice age. These animals had to either adapt to living in the cold or move south to warmer climates. Both of these actions would have caused huge drastic changes in the species, causing some species to die out and new ones to come into being. Boom! Evolution. There are surely more ways that the moon affects all of our lives that we don't even know, but just based off what we do know, it's obvious that without the moon, life on Earth would be drastically different, if it existed at all. Thank you everyone for following along with us on Moon Week. I hope you have a new appreciation for our closest celestial friend, and Rose, we will see you on Monday.